Working on a 2013 GMC Terrain, and it's got a strut that's leaking a little bit. You can see there's moisture around here. It has almost 100,000 miles on it. What you do is you take this little panel off the front, if I can get it uncovered enough. Take this little panel off here. It's got a little plastic clip there, and after you pop that clip out, it falls down there. You'll have to get another one off Amazon or something. But this is what it looks like. It's just like a little 5mm push pin. Anyway, take these 3 bolts out. 3 bolts in the top here. Easy, easy. That one there's behind that plastic. I'm just going to leave it. It's loose. So those are 13mm. That's what you'll need. You'll need a 13 and an 18mm wrench, 22 for the wheels. This little guy here has a Allen in it, so you'll have to put the Allen wrench in there with a box end wrench and screw it out. It's a sway bar end link. And then this is a 13. It holds the bracket for the brake line. It just comes off and flags out that way. So the 2 bolts that hold this on here have spline heads on them. Just make sure they go back in that way. Okay, this is the front of the vehicle to the right. The threads and the nuts go out towards the rear to the left. So see, these come off simple enough. These are 21mm. And you just kind of have to put the head of that nut on there, put it on there all the way till the threads are flush on the end, and just tap that out there with like a 2-pound hammer. And don't beat the crap out of it. Just bump it out and it'll come out real easy. It's not a problem. You beat it up, mess it up, that's your problem. Okay, don't do that. But you can see these. I hit these with that 2-pound hammer, and it didn't mess anything up. Everything is fine. This stuff, these newer cars, they use aluminum spindles, aluminum parts, and Loctite on everything. So you get all this apart, you got to clean all these threads up. Okay, all right. You got to clean them threads up and put new Loctite on there. Just put some blue Loctite on it. It'll go together just fine. Let me get this strut out. It's called a strut cartridge assembly. Okay, when it's all together like that, it's called a loaded assembly. Let me get this little thing out. Hang on a sec. Okay, so let me remind everyone about a few things. Now you see how this brake assembly and this stuff, it all moves real easy, okay? So I put a jack under it there to hold up that lower control arm. And when you pull this loose from this, when I pull this bolt out, okay, and all this stuff pops loose. Get some sunlight here, sorry. All this stuff pops loose. You don't want this to fall onto that CV axle boot here. Okay, you either have to hold it up and know you can keep it off of that, or you can get a piece of cardboard and stick a piece of cardboard or something under there to keep it from dinging that boot. You're not going to be happy if you ding that boot and tear it. That's not fun. We don't want to do that. We just want to have fun, right? Put that little guy in there like that. It'll come out and rest on there and pull this bolt out. And the other thing that I do on these is I click these little tabs loose on here and let that ABS sensor wire flag out, okay? Because this whole thing moves out a little bit. It puts tension on that ABS wire, and we don't want to ding that and mess it up. Okay, so you can take it loose, make some slack. It's easy. Just takes a few moments of time. No big deal. Alright, so that's what they look like. Now this is the right side. This is the passenger side, so it matches up, see? That's what it looks like. That's the part number. Okay, it's a 2013 GMC Terrain, Monroe, loaded strut assembly. That's what they look like, nice and brand new. You can see this older one's leaking. It's not a problem yet, but it's something that you want to take care of. This oil will get all over the bushings and cause problems. We don't want that. So we're going to replace it. Comes with new bolts. You can use those or the old ones. If you use the old ones, you got to clean the threads. Can't put it back together all nasty. It's got to be right. Alright, so this is how I do it. I hold this with one hand, the strut assembly. I stand over this fender right here. I push it up to this hole. And this one doesn't have studs on it, so you have to hold it up to this hole here, line up these 3 bolts, and tighten them. Now I just get them started. See how loose it is? Lots of slack, so you can get that bottom assembly all put together. You want to put as much of it together as possible while it's loose so you don't get any binding or anything. When you tighten this all up, it goes to the right place, I guarantee it. Everybody will be happy when it's done right. Oh, that sunlight is so bright, goodness. Anyhow, so slowly we'll put all this stuff back on there. Let me get a few more steps done and we'll talk about it. Okay, so what I've done here is I jacked the jack up a little bit. I pushed this thing around. I put my knees around the bottom of this brake rotor here like this, and use that to give me a little looseness, a little slack. Use a screwdriver or a punch or something to line it up in that hole, because you're not going to put that bolt in there until it gets lined up. So use that to facilitate that. See, it's easy. Everything is nice and loose. Alright, once you get it lined up good enough, push that bolt in there. Screwdriver pops out. No problem. Tap that bolt in there with the 2-pound hammer. Make sure you back up this side with something. Okay? Don't just go hitting things wide open like that without some kind of backup on it. It's going to cause problems. We don't want to do that. And we don't want to go home run with it either. We're going to tighten the nut up too as we go. Make it nice and easy. Alright, so let's make an observation here while we're messing around. And we've got this sway bar thing here. Let me get it so it lights up good. And you grab it and you can move this thing around real easy. Well, that's kind of wore out. If you look at the boot on there, that boot's all crazy looking. And the grease from the internal parts of it, internal grease has leaked out everywhere. Alright, for anywhere where there's a lot of rain and ice on the road and everything else, salt on the road and chemicals, it'll get in there and eat this all up. This one needs to be replaced. Okay, this sway bar end link. We're not going to do that now, but I'm going to tell him about it. The guy that owns the vehicle, let him know he can order some. We'll get it done next time. This is not a disaster. Okay, it still works. It's fine. Probably lasts for a very long time. But when it finally gets dry and enough water and junk in it and rusty, it's going to start making noise. And when it goes up and down with suspension, it's going to make a little noise every time. So just keep an eye on little small things like this. All right. The next thing is this bracket. Now, if you look in here, there's no threads. So we're going to put this in there with an impact, and it will make threads. Now that's how it was from the factory. That's fine. Just don't blow this thing out with the impact and strip it. It needs to be moving, so just keep an eye on that. But everything is ready to start tightening up here. We'll get this ABS sensor line and put back together here in a minute. Okay, so let's take another note here of this. On the original strut assembly, it didn't have this edge flagged out like this. Alright, it kind of went in a little closer and allowed this bracket to go over the edge. And this one doesn't. It's a little bit more of a universal part. If this really bothers you, you can get a cutoff wheel and fix it. I don't care. I just tightened this guy down. This bent out. It's just fine. All it does is hold those lines and brake line and all that business there on the side. It went in just fine. That's what it looks like. Everybody's on. All the bolts are on. Everybody's happy. Looking good.